Okay, elaboration more on the effects of THC on the human brain. Um, when it comes to stuttering, and just witness somebody stutter excessively, so they never used to be as stuttery. If you look at past videos, um, and they definitely are an excessive weed smoker, or at least from what we can tell. And to quote, the people that, six times they were stuck on the word that. And I've just heard it a number of times played back. And it's definitely a thing where THC in moderate use can actually improve stuttering, but excessive use will actually worsen if there's a problem there to start with. So potential benefits, notable. There's been case studies published in cannabinoid research. It was documented on a 20-year-old with treatment resistant stuttering who experienced marked improvement in speech, actually, and fluency, even, reduced anxiety, and enhanced quality of their life, but in moderate use. But again, you wonder if CBD could do this without the addictive side effects of THC. Any addictions we have, well, by definition, an addiction, I guess, would be if you cannot help doing it, even if whatever the addiction is, um, it could be a detriment to getting your goals done in life. If it's in the way of your goals, you have to have that fix before you're doing anything. Then that's actually where addiction becomes a problem, right? So uh, the report was in cannabinoid research. There was documented 20-year-old with treatment, uh, a marked improvement in speech, fluency, a reduced anxiety, and even enhanced the quality of their life using medicinal cannabis. See, I stutter a little bit, but this was it's excessive, and we've heard high speed talking from the individual as well, so high that he stumbles, I think, and stutters, and it's like his tongue can't coordinate fast enough for the words that are coming out. Um, yeah, so we've heard utter gibberish in that from this individual who there's enough evidence over they are an individual who's used this, and there's research on individuals like that versus people who are um, using it light use, and there's plenty of research on THC psychosis I've talked about before. So when I'm reading about the potential for stuttering is, yeah, it can help a little bit, a tiny bit, and tiny bits, but prolonged a bit at a time, end up being quite a effective um, improvement. However, excessive use, you can get quite an impairment verbally. So they're using it medicinally for these key factors, and conversely, they've shown that certain research suggests THC. Yeah, while it modulates dopamine and reduces stress, key factors can exacerbate stuttering. The patient, in this case, a 20-year-old, reported sustained benefits for over a year with no side effects. But I do wonder about these studies. What side effects are they looking for? Or what side effects are they not looking for? So potential risk, conversely, that's what I was trying to say earlier. Conversely, multiple anecdotal reports and some research indicate that THC can worsen stuttering, particularly in individuals with anxiety or those with high THC strains. I've talked about this before. The famous Woodstock event in America, the what people have been labelled as hippies during this event, the levels at which what they were smoking it was between 3 to 5% THC. Now there's products out there with 80 to 90% THC. So those using high strain THC, high strains, can develop acute THC impaired verbal recall. Uh, this is probably, in my educated guess, would involve the prefrontal cortex. I've done takes on that before, written a little bit about that at exploratoryminds.net. So the acute THC use can impair verbal recall, um, enunciation, and speech flow. Definitely the flow thing is what I heard was that. And it was like they couldn't flow to the next word. They was every time they tried to, they were still stuck on the first word. In this case, was the word that. Um, Again, is to quote, what was it? Let me look it up. It was the people that, and it was just 6 times over. They didn't stop, and they didn't even stop. It was like they couldn't stop at all. It was bizarre from what I heard. Because if you're going to be stuck 6 times down the line, you think, oh, it's time to stop and restart what you're saying. Maybe they thought they were going to be interrupted and wanted to get it out faster. In my experience, that doesn't tend to work. And that's maybe that's a separate video on how to try to mitigate people interrupting, and it doesn't always work. Anyway, but I need to get back to what I was reading on this. I've lost a page now. I got it. So, yeah, it can get worse with high strained THC, and you have acute impairment, potentially increasing stuttering. One Reddit user noted that THC significantly worsened their stutter, especially when combined with anxiety. Key factors include that the outcome often depends on the THC to CBD ratio. CBD has antipsychotic properties and anti-anxiety, but it's not the addictive part of the chemicals in this plant. I say chemicals not in a synthetic way, but you could say it's synthetic when you got THC 80 to 90%. It is actually, like I said before, that's actually insanity. It's insane to be using it that high, but this is the thing with human nature. We are addicts. We are always looking for something that makes us feel good in the moment. But if you feel too good in the moment and it lasts too short, well, you want that again, don't you? And that's where addiction has its nasty cycle. Um, so the outcome often depends on that THC to CBD ratio. And individual neurochemistry and the presence of anxiety during taking it. These are variables to consider. Strains with higher CBD may reduce anxiety without psychoactive effects of THC, potentially offering benefits without worsening speech. Again, time and time again, there seems to be been a flip around, maybe for some hidden agendas of people trying to condone THC more than CBD because that's coming from perhaps people who are more addicted to it than they want to admit. Even people who are much more well educated on the research of this, much more than me. People who would probably work in labs and do research on this kind of thing. Perhaps, that's just a theory. So, in summary, basically, while THC may improve for some individuals stuttering, especially those with treatment resistant cases and high anxiety, it can actually worsen symptoms in others, particularly due to its impact on cognitive and motor functions. Uh, and that's another thing. High use of this can have people with tremors, the motor functions, and shaking, and it's something else to consider, particularly with these ridiculously high levels. The THC market is capitalizing on this addiction. This is why it's a thing at all. There is less care of an individual using it for medicinal purposes, and there is more care of, oh, we can make money on this, and people get addicted. And that's really what the black market does. So even if it's mainstream and condoned, well, in some ways, America's drug industry is no better than the black market. And we have seen side effects of that, more so of that kind of approach and attitude, more so than the approach across other countries, I think. Maybe it's not that black and white. Maybe it's a bit more nuanced than that. But we'll see. Maybe I'm a little bit too biased, but I've seen individuals in. I live in southeast East Wales, and I know there's a underlying black market going on around us. Some days you can walk by somebody, you can smell the weed, and that bitter kick at the back of your throat. I don't know how to describe it. Once you smell it, you know it's what it is, and it's not really pleasant if you're not somebody. If you're somebody like me who doesn't use it, certainly these high levels, these high strains are being sold on black market because they're growing their own, and what else is in it that isn't actually the plant, but once they sell it, what else have these individuals had on their hands, which now is on the weed they're selling because they haven't washed their hands, and other drugs and so on. And people who smoke this get high on other things that are actually infused into that as well. This actually worsens it adds a cloudiness to the research that is needed by people to mitigate what is the best way to be using this. It is a plant, and there's plenty of ways because of natural biology in which we could use plants because we evolved as animals that from earliest origins we eating plant matter. But again, smoking, there's a pair of lungs in your chest that are not, they didn't evolve to inhale smoke infused with these chemicals. They evolved to process oxygen, right? And breathe out carbon dioxide. That's what they're for. And get that oxygen through the bloodstream. That's what lungs are for. Not for vaping or smoking or THC or nicotine or anything else, actually. And it gets in the way of natural processes, and it gets past that blood-brain barrier that I talked about before. Sorry about not being on camera for this one, but I will be probably on camera for some future videos for this channel, and a bit for the other channel as well. It's just some things I'm editing and getting ready for different things. So that's something to consider as well. I mean, excessive, and I've seen excessive high speed talking from people who are using strains too high. And it's like you get past a certain speed, then you're just going to get stuck with coordination, because you can't. This is a shortening. I don't know quite how to describe it, but it seems to be a high speed sort of overconfidence with people's abilities and processing. And people feel like they have all these ideas all at once at real super high speed, and they're super confident when they have THC too high. There's been reports on that, but they get nothing done, and they keep repeating the same things they have done in the past, like, and saying the same things. We've seen that as evidence as well. People have reported coming off it and looking back, said their life became stagnant, like it was just on repeat or every single day, even though they felt like they and they see it as like some kind of delusion. They really felt like everything's fine, and again, I guess it's psychologically. You need to look at the psychological end of addiction as well as the biological end, where you just need that fix. And psychologically, there's a lot to be talked about there, I think, because the culture, the words that are used within the culture, and uh, different words using different, changing the context into more of a fantasy of why certain things are used, and thinking out how it's good for you and so on. People arguing, oh, there's somebody smoking weed versus somebody drinking alcohol, and an argument between people smoking weed is much more amicable than somebody smoking alcohol. That kind of culture, the making excuses, and both sides of the fence, where people make excuses for addictions all the time. But these people that are doing the addiction really end up preferring to believe these lies rather than do something about it. And they don't even know necessarily they're lying to themselves. We do that a lot of cognitive dissonance, um, where the baseline, the most basic thought process I can come up with, I've talked about it before in cognitive dissonance, is um, it might go something like this: a thought process. I could never have been that wrong, therefore I must have been right. And you shuffle these thoughts around and excuses and put things into context to justify. Now, everybody does a little bit of cognitive dissonance. It's a coping mechanism to make us feel better about our situation. But then there's somewhere where you should be drawing the line. However, what comes with a feeling of overconfidence that's kind of synthetically induced with high levels of THC is a lack of self-awareness. Psychedelics tend to do this to people as well, a lack of identity, which is something very much to be considered and looked into as well when people become addicted to certain things. A self-awareness thing, realizing how far gone a person is into a certain situation of addiction. Uh, that I think is incredibly important on any addiction or not. Self-awareness is crucial, I think. And personally, I want to get back to a little bit more self-awareness of myself as well, because back when I used to do a lot of that, things were a bit more eased off with anxiety and stress. I'm kind of out of that loop, so I've noticed some markers with myself that I think I need to head back into that. Meditation techniques. I can talk about that. People say I got a nice voice. They like it, and I don't know what, different countries, how they hear me. But they think, I've been told, oh, that'd be good for like a guided meditation or that. I might actually do something like that out there for this channel as well. This channel is going to get more attention than the other channel. There's two YouTube channels, and I've mentioned they got both similar names, but they are two sides of the same coin for Exploratory Minds project, but I'm bringing back the more refined aspect of this. The one channel is a bit of like a dumping ground, and I'll take things from that and then refine them on this channel. That's how that's kind of going. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll look forward to doing the next video. It's listening in this case because I'm not on camera, but if you like the logo, also thank you very much for watching as well. Cheers. Take care. Bye.